Hi, intrepid viewers. Dr. Lena coming to you from Friday, April 12th. But it would appear in Arizona, it's 1864. Can you believe the ruling? Well, of course you can, because we have to be unshockable at this point. So I've been doing this channel for 6 years. And in all that time, I've been so worried about the GOP and conservatives in other countries too, trying to take things back to the 50s. People have this romanticized idea of the 50s. It's all happy days, like big skirts, big cars, happy, happy, big malted milkshakes, no. No, I was a child of the 50s, and the state where I grew up, in Queensland, was fully segregated. Blacks and whites were completely segregated. So gays were, of course, in the closet, goes without saying. Women who did manage to get jobs as teachers and nurses had to leave that job when they got married, you know. And so then doctors would write prescriptions for all these depressed women in the suburbs like they were candy. It was a very, very difficult and ugly time in so many ways. And who can forget, if you were a young woman at that time, there were so few places you could go. We weren't big on church events, but they were sort of small town community events, bowling or whatever, where the esteemed men of the community would be trying to look down your blouse or up your skirt, and men were trying to get you in the back of the pickup truck, And if you didn't sleep with them, if you did sleep with them, you were a slut. So it was a no-win in so many ways for so many people. So let's not romanticize the 50s. But didn't dream we'd be going back to 1864. Can you believe it? I think that was even before Arizona was a state. And if you go back to 1864, why not go back to 1834? And maybe Mexico should just take back Texas. Forget all this stuff at the border. No, I'm behind Mexico making a claim for Texas and Southern California. Why not? Why is it always the white people who get to determine where history starts and stops? Food for thought. But look, we're inching closer. I'm trying to keep calm and let the legal, shenanigans play out. And it seems like the Yeti has exhausted all the appeals options, because the problem for the Yeti is he's now down to a 37th rate legal team, and they keep making the same appeal over and over. Doesn't that mean he's a frivolous litigant or something? I think there's a term we have here, vexatious litigant or something, someone who just keeps suing for the sake of suing and appealing for the sake of appealing, So will it go ahead on the 15th? Jury selection in New York, So let's have a look. Will it progress? Moving forward on this. And then there are so many other stories we have to talk about. Okay. So I just want a quick look at this. Look, I think he's possibly got one more roll of the dice. I was hoping this was his 5 of cups, not and things being held up, but I think there's a last-minute tussle here between the judge, the King of Wands, and the Yeti, the Emperor. So in other words, if there can be one more squeeze of the lemon, he'll do it, but I don't think it'll be a big thing. Apparently, some of these appeals are being dealt with in under an hour. One or two went through in half an hour. They're just going, no, we are sick of this. No, no. But what happened to the other deadline? Remember, he had the original deadline for the 475 million. Then he got the 10-day extension because he's so special. When did that elapse? A week or so ago. So I think there's just another little hitch in proceedings, but this isn't dramatic. This is just irritating. Okay. All right. Now, talking about his assets, where is this note? Oh, hang on. Yes, the SEC have said that the Yeti could be accused of pumping stocks. Well, duh. He's going on, his ridiculous platform, greatest stocks ever, send me money. You'll get rich too, as it's falling through the floorboards. And that's called pumping stocks. So will that become a thing? Will that become a thing? Pumping stocks. What's happening with Truth Social, the merger, the stocks? Where are they going? The SEC. The SEC. Let's have a look. Oh, whoops. Oh, that's better news for us. I know we shouldn't, relish other people's misfortunes, but he's not a normal person. So a little schadenfreude can stop you going crazy, I think. But look at this. Mystery and mystery. Like, look at this. The moon and the high priestess, things that are hidden, lies and deceit, things that are not being produced that need to be produced, things that have been hidden that should be in the open. Look at this, right? There's going to be so much more to these, because when you think you've got to the bottom of the barrel with the Yeti, there's always another little tarnished bit of nonsense to deal with. I wouldn't want to have $1 invested in these shares, and this is the system. Hopefully, as these different trials play out, hopefully it will strengthen and embolden braver legal decisions, but this is the government. Not looking good, you'd have to say. Now, it's like one way or another, he's about to enter a new world order. Okay, and that involves him sitting on a chair that's probably not all that comfortable for X hours a day. Now, I'm not sure of the protocols in the US legal system. I think he has the right to be there when they're deciding jury people and so forth, but he'll be bored, an hour in and probably want to leave it to his legal people. But at some point, he has to sit in a chair and be quiet. Now, I hope those judges are making a plan, because I don't think he's actually capable of it. Can you imagine? He might end up in a side room, with perspex and a Hannibal Lecter mask or something. I don't think he can stop himself. Oh my God. Okay. And there was, oh yes, another big question that I'll come back to, and that's the US Appeals Court in DC. Note to Lena. I must do that later in this video. In the meantime, other things are happening, and that includes the son of Stuart Elmer Rhodes, you know, the guy with the eye patch. You all must remember his story, and we should call him Elmer because he hates it. It's his real name, but he hates it. And in case you missed it at the time, he wears the eye patch because he was demonstrating gun safety when he shot himself through the eye. And apparently he was always a bully and a monster in the domestic space. And somehow, obviously thanks to a very dedicated wife and mother, there's the lovely Dakota, who's his son, who is now standing as a Dem. So let's have a look at Dakota. It's a nice name, Dakota. The problem is an Australian accent kills it stone dead. Dakota. So let's see what's going to happen. I'll try and say it nicely with Dakota. A very presentable young man who was deprived of education, freedom of thought, and everything else, and he's fought his way out of the family cult of his hideous father. Let's have a look at Dakota. Oh, sorry, I've turned my cards the wrong way around. We'll just put them the right way up. He was born for this. He was born for this. He's got big cards. Okay, so what I get for him, if ever there was a case for divorcing your parents, is it? No, he gets the card of karma, fate, and destiny. And he's smart, and I think this could also be his mother. So somehow he's come out with a really good brain, which is no mean feat. If you're in a cult, particularly in your formative years, it's very hard to re-establish yourself on the other side, but he's had the support and help he needs. He's made the strategy. He realizes he has potential, the world in the hands. He has potential and he knows it. So he's quite confident, but not in an egotistical, look at me way, calmly confident. He feels obliged. This is a good legacy, no, to actually counter that narrative of ugliness and violence. He feels quite compelled. I don't think he'll get far at the moment with the Hanged Man, things not happening at the moment, things suspended, but he will change minds. See the halo here, the new perspective. He shines for other young things who have these brutish paramilitary fathers, right? I think he's actually going to become quite well known in the future. And I think he's using another name. I think he's Dakota Adams these days, which is probably mum's name. So I wish that young man all the very best. Okay, now we're getting bits of good news through. You know how we've sat here for the last few years going, what about the 2.5 billion that Jared got? Whether it was from I can't remember, Saudi or Qatari money. It was around the time of Khashoggi's murder that it was being negotiated. And it's a big whack of money by any standards. And he was obviously peddling influence. He didn't have anything else to offer. You know, Jared's not a scintillating intellect. Jared, like the Trump incarnations, got left huge amounts of money. Can someone let me know how many apartments in New Jersey does Jared own? Because I remember looking it up years ago and it was mind-bending. Something like 12,000 apartments or something huge, right? And he's a slumlord. So apart from that, finally, there is talk, and it's being pushed somewhere that someone should be looking at that money. I mean, really, these branches of government and ethics need to be beefed up. And if and when Biden takes control again, the Dems can't just do what they did this last time, right? That they had to come in swimming and just push off this stuff. And I'm not criticizing them individually for that, but as a party, they really need to knuckle down and start. I'm on a rant now. I'll call it a digression, so it's not as bullying as a rant. So all the deregulation that was done under the Yeti and this hopeless Congress stuff, it all needs to be reinstated. Big things need to be done. I think there needs to be a referendum on gun safety, a referendum on the Electoral College. The Electoral College. I know they think it's 1864, but I said, love, I said, pet, it's time to revisit the Electoral College. Like they have to do big, bold things in this next incarnation. Okay. So let me just have a look at this. Economic analyst Steve Retner said Jared's income stream needs to be investigated. And the reason for that is 99% of his investment is from foreign sources. Now, if you're a big player, you're going to have bits of money from here and there. There's no American money in there for all the same reasons they won't give it to the Yeti. 99% of his money is from foreign sources. That means he's beholden to foreign sources. Anyway, let's have a look. Will a case be opened on Jared? Will a case be opened? If they do start investigating this stuff, they're going to be very busy. Jared and the Middle Eastern money, that's not even touching Russian money. This is just that money. Let's have a look. Yes, cup runneth over. Oh, cups, and a bit of pentacles. Well, I would say yes. I would say yes. Mind you, if it starts, it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Look, we're in a time warp, aren't we? Some things are excruciatingly slow and other things are radically fast. Anyway, I think this is a bit of an end game. I think we're going to be celebrating that finally someone is looking at this. This is Jared himself. Not that he'd ever be caught dead in a Hawaiian aloha shirt, but symbolically sitting pretty, because this is someone who has never worked a day in his life. I'm sorry, counting the money you've got from other people doesn't constitute work. I'm sorry, no. That's him. And he's going to have to explain where his money has been coming from. Now, whether they've got any teeth to do anything about that or just give him a leg slap, I don't know. But I think there is going to be something. And I think that's going to happen with a lot of these guys. They're all starting to relax because all the focus is on Trump and the DC stuff and porn stars and whatever. But let us pray to all the gods and goddesses or whatever rocks your boat that they haven't been forgotten in all this. There'll be other things. And I was reminded during the week, Watergate prosecutions went on for 10 years. We've got to remind ourselves. I'm trying to have faith in the legal system. Okay, now that was a flashback to the old Catholic past. Now, just hang on here. Ah, Tesla. Now, We know Elon Musk is a really bad employer. We know this because there have been complaints from workers at Tesla for the last 5 years more. When he has parts made for Tesla in the Scandinavian countries, their unions actually blocked him because he was treating workers so badly, and they have very good workers' rights. And he didn't want to pay what normal employers pay. So let's just take a minute to explore that. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland. So they are social democracies, democratic socialism, depending how you want to look at it. So the deal is anyone can gather wealth and become a millionaire or a zillionaire. But the difference is you have to treat your workers well. That's a good hourly rate. That is sick leave. That is paid annual holidays. That's paternity and maternity leave. You are supposed to ethically source your supply chain, so it's not using slave labor in Bangladesh or something to get you those little nuts and bolts you need, or China. So you have to have an ethical supply chain. And that is overseen. They could not believe how he wanted to work. So he's bad. But now there's a bit of an outcry of American workers because apparently his workplaces are hugely sexist and racist, awful things happening to workers there. So I want to have a look. I mean, we're talking swastikas on the toilet doors, women being literally molested in the workplace and harassed and harangued, just ghastly, everyday behaviour, not just someone over there and someone over here. Systematic abuse of workers. That's apart from what Elon's doing. He's allowing this, but he's bad enough as a boss, but he allows this. Let's have a look. Elon Musk's workers at Tesla. Will the Tesla workers do anything about it? Of course, in the stories I'm reading, if you're the one experiencing this, you're the one who then leaves. Even though you need the work, you go back to an even worse paying job, but you're not getting so abused. So this is the power of the collective workers is really important, because otherwise this worker leaves, this worker leaves, this worker leaves, and they don't change. So let's have a look. Is Tesla going to be business as usual, or will something be done? Tesla for workers. Let's have a look. I think this is a bigger story coming out of this. And the reason it's a bigger story is because Elon himself has put himself at the center of the universe by taking over Twitter and wrecking it and putting himself out there. So therefore, we are drawn to what is Elon Musk doing, whether it's a spaceship or an electric vehicle that's going to be obsolete in 5 years or whatever he's doing, he's drawing attention to himself. Okay, so this is about the workers. So they are feeling it. He doesn't pay the worst wages in America, but they're not marvelous. Okay, but I want to make that distinction. It's not just about the hourly rate. Okay, they're feeling it. He won't spend a penny than he has to. What is it with uber wealthy people? They genuinely believe they are superior beings. They believe they're smarter. They believe they were put here to rule. They believe their own mythology. I'm rich because I'm smart, and I'm rich because I'm a brave venture capitalist. That's why I'm rich. No, you're rich because your dad left you a truckload of money and you filled a gap, and your workers made you the money. Now, that's how it really happens. I'm so over it. I am so over it at this stage of my life. Anyway, doesn't want to spend the money. People are talking about it. I think this is two things. I think it's arguments and tensions in the workplace, right? So there's no solidarity between the workers. See, these people are all different ethnicities and so forth. There's no common ground. Instead of going, we're all being screwed over by Elon. No, he'd be much happier if we all fight each other and put crude, vicious graffiti in the bathrooms, right? Rather than rising up. So that's where it's at. I think some women could come together. This is sort of my card of shifting feminine energies and principles at the moment. The Queen of Pentacles loves a project. Well, I think they're really sick of it. Remember when I was just saying before, in sociology, we talk about the public and the private. So what happens, like in the subprime mortgage crisis or something? Your household lose a house. It's a private pain and a private hell, but it's part of a public problem and a structural issue. Yeah. So if you get bad health from working in a particular filthy industry and you're not protected, that's your pain and your family's pain because you've got asbestos related disease or whatever it is, but it's a structural issue that should have been dealt with 30 years ago. Do you see my point? So this is, I think, the individual's pain, you know. But I'm liking this as an outcome card, King of Swords. King of Swords. I think swords are about communication. They're also about social media and stuff. Maybe they can't go on X, obviously. I mean, they can, but they're not going to be allowed to stay there long. I think something more conventional, like if 10 of them went to 60 minutes or something like that. Communicate, put it out there, put it out there. Because as a generalization, most people who would be buying electric vehicles tend to be environmentally conscious people who do care about things. And you don't want to think that people were abused in the making of the product. And so there's room, I think, for the workers to talk with potential buyers and saying, this is not good. Imagine that. Oh my God. Now, juicy. This is juicy. There's so much legal stuff. We're all armchair lawyers. But now, the US Appeals Court for DC, for the DC Circuit, has said Trump can be sued in civil suits over January 6th. This is a big development. Like everything else, it's only taken nearly 4 years. Don't. Shut up, Lena. Everyone knows. Okay. But you can now. Now, the good news is there are some people, I'll tell you in a minute who they are, who are going ahead with these cases. However, the judge of the DC court has left the door open on the question of presidential immunity. This will be looked at as a scandal in history. Just decide this one issue, please, America, please. Okay. Anyway, so let's go with the good news side of it. So Eric Swalwell, who I adore, I would love to see Swalwell go all the way in the next 4 years. Okay, I think he'd make a great president. Um, so Eric Swalwell and another couple of House Dems, this is talking about on the day how they were treated. Swalwell has said he encouraged the riot and looked on approvingly as he watched it on television. So this is very personal. Plus, there are two officers who will go ahead and sue separately, civil suits over J6. So they won't be able to throw him in the clink, but I also doubt there'll be any money left at the end of the other things. But symbolically and practically, this is important. For people who have been traumatized by such a situation, particularly those officers and other serving members of Congress and stuff, even though they've been abandoned by the GOP, I think this is a great development. So let's just have a quick look at the energy around that. It's too early for specific details, but let's just look at the energy around it. Okay, this is, where are we? DC circuit, J6, DC circuit. Well, the dogs have been quiet. They've probably just eaten the washing or something. Oh no, they're asleep. Okay, J6. Look, okay. I think this is them joining together. I think they're communicating with each other. Now the rulings come through, the path has been cleared. If you were there on the day, you can make a civil suit. There are a lot of people there. I think there could be some more suits coming up. This is people joining together because it might be more practical to, all the Congress people to do one and maybe the police officers another or whatever, or one giant one or whatever. But I think there'll be different combinations joining together here. There'll be some people here. Now, here's the tension in this reading. It seems obvious they would get compensation. But of the ones who I have seen named as wanting to go ahead, it actually isn't so much about the money. It's about the theft of the democracy. And it's, in a way, a theft of innocence. It stole the fact that the United States of America represented some sort of beacon on the hill, as we know, for procedural democracy. And that was taken away that day. Right? That was lost that day. These cases will go forward. The outcome is the Four of Cups. And what I take this to mean is, well, it could be two things. One, they could be made an offer to just go away, not go for actual damages on this health issue, this mental health crisis, this or this. Just, we'll pay you a flat rate, just drop it. Yeah. They won't want like that. Alternatively, they can fight and go all the way, but there won't be enough money at the end of the day to make a difference. So I think these cases are important because they keep the Yeti busy for the next 6 or 7 years or until other circumstances take over. So it's going to be more pressure on him. And as these cases unfold, it puts J6 back in the limelight again. It's hard because it's really important. America doesn't just move on from J6. It's really important, even though all this time has been wasted, appallingly, 4 years, full election cycle. It can't be let go without being dealt with. The country cannot heal and move on. And I think this must happen. And I'm quite optimistic on the other side of like a year from now, 2 years from now, these cases will still be unfolding, but the climate will be different. And someone was saying this the other day, I forget if it was another reader or wherever, but I agree, which is I think MAGA is weakening and people just move away. They're not game to say, I've had enough of this, saying to their other MAGA people, he promised us, bringing back steel. He didn't do it. He promised us the wall. They ran off with their money. They're not going to have those conversations with each other because they'll be called rhinos and will be expelled from the club. So they're quietly falling away. And then in 5 years, they won't admit going near it. So, food for thought. So let me know what you're thinking and doing in the comments. So take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Oh, forgot, whoops, housekeeping. I did a collaboration with Deanne, Shield Maiden, Harrow, and Mel, Aloha Shirt Psychic. Hi to both of you. My technical proficiency is so poor, I can't even find the video to link it. So you can go to Deanne's channel and see that. We had a lovely rave, didn't use cards much, we just had a conversation. So take care and look after yourselves. Bye for now.